Good afternoon, everyone. I see everyone starting to come in, so I'm going to hold off a little bit before we do the introduction. Thank you for joining us today. Good afternoon to you, Mike.
Good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. Hello, everybody.
So we're going to give just a couple of seconds. Maybe I'll go ahead and share my screen so we can do a quick intro and then we'll get started. Let's see. There we go. So good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who are continuing to come on in. Thanks for joining us today, this afternoon, a lovely Thursday. It's very warm in Southern California, so I'm not sure where you are, but where I am, it's very hot. Though you see me in a sweater, I'm in the air conditioning right now, but outside it is warm. So again, good afternoon. My name is Lauren Simpson. I am with the SBDC, or the Small Business Development Center. We are a national program with over 1,000 locations across the country, and we offer no-cost services to local small businesses. And they're at no cost to you because your tax dollars have already taken care of our fees. So please be sure to partake in our resources. For the Los Angeles network, which is the network that I represent, we have locations throughout the Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. And you can see those centers or locations represented in front of you. You'll see that we're as far out as Ventura County, so Camarillo over to Santa Clarita. Pasadena, we've got a location, as well as all the way down in Long Beach. And so if you're anywhere within, again, that Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, or Ventura counties, be sure to get in contact with us. You'll want to do so because we offer no cost business advising. And so you're able to meet one-on-one via Zoom currently with one of our business advisors or business experts. And they have expertise in various topics ranging from marketing to business planning, finances and taxes, you name it, we've got it. And then we also offer free virtual trainings, much like the training you've joined today. So be sure to get in contact with us today. By phone, you can reach us at 866-588-7232, or you can go online, smallbizla.org/new client. If you've joined us today outside of the Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, or Ventura counties, please go to americassbdc.org/find-your-SBDC. With that, I'm going to stop my screen share. Quick housekeeping, please keep your questions on topic and be sure you enter those into our Q&A. Again, questions into the Q&A. The chat will be reserved for any, good afternoon to you, Lily, I see your note. The chat will be reserved for any links or information we'd like to share with you there. And then I also wanted to keep everyone, or quick update, we are currently building out the playlist on our YouTube channel for this series. And so you'll be able to, I'll be sharing a link next week to a new playlist with all of the videos, all of the content that we've shared since about spring of this year. And so we're excited to announce that. You can go back and you can check out all of the great content that GB and Mike have shared with us since about April of 2022. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Mike. Good afternoon, Mike.
Good afternoon. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for everyone for joining us today. I have one or 2 points. First of all, with regards to the topic, and I don't know if GB is going to join us or not, I have a presentation ready to go for pricing. Lauren, check your email. I'll send it to you. So please keep the questions on topic because we have limited time. I do have an update for you. I'm sure many have heard that Congress passed a bill yesterday. They call it an anti-inflation bill. We could argue as to whether or not it's an anti-inflation bill, but I will tell you this. There's a provision in that bill to hire 87,000 IRS agents. And those agents, most of them are going to be hired for enforcement, not for customer service. Only 10% of IRS phone calls from Americans were answered last year. The IRS is concerned about enforcement of the rules because the IRS has been defunded over many, many years, and there's lots of retiring agents. And those 87,000 plus agents, plus who they already have, are going to go after those in the middle income brackets. Those who are above the middle income brackets have money to spend on lawyers, and oftentimes, quite honestly, IRS loses, so they don't want to spend the money. Additionally, those in the low income brackets, it's political suicide to go after those. So it's those of us in the middle that the IRS is going to go after. And in particular, they're going after those who have pass-through tax entities, such as subchapter S entities and LLCs, and even sole proprietorships. So why am I telling you this? Be prepared. You may be audited. Now, I have no idea if you will or not. I don't know what the rate of audit will be, but I'm letting you know the best thing to do is just keep your books clean, as I'm sure you all are, and document, document, document. Okay. I am on a laptop. I may come back on my phone. I don't have my charger with me. I apologize for that. I'm going to start a price presentation. I don't see GB here. And it's how to price for maximum gain. And there's a question already. Single LLC owner, do I need payroll? If you elect subchapter as tax treatment, then you need to put yourself on a W-2. And there's potentially a tax mitigation strategy by electing subchapter as tax treatment. Because when you put yourself on W-2, you don't have to take the entire income as salary. You only have to take a portion of it as salary, thus limiting the amount of self-employment taxes, payroll taxes you have to pay. Okay, with that, let me share my screen. If I do lose you, Lauren, please, you can just bring up the presentation I sent to you, and I'll go back on my phone, okay? All right, so my presentation is how to price on that for maximum gain. And I know we all wondering, should we raise our prices? We're business people. What should I do in an inflationary environment when everybody else is raising their prices? Well, my suggestion is think about raising your prices. So let's talk about pricing. There's a gentleman named Lee Caldwell who wrote a book about the psychology of price. And he came up with a number of points. It's available out there. You can find it's a relatively recent book, past 8 years. He said that pricing should be based on the value to the customer, and it makes sense. I agree with you. I agree with that statement. It shouldn't be based on the cost to you. Have you ever gone in and bought a suit coat and said, gee, I bet you it cost, $250 for that suit coat to be made? No, no one ever asked that question. But oftentimes when business owners think about pricing, they always think about, well, the cost is this, so therefore I should just double it. That's the wrong approach. It really is, what is the market willing to pay you for that product? That's what counts. How much is a house worth? It's not what Zillow tells you. It's not what the appraisers tell you. It's what someone actually pays for the house. So keep in mind, never just base pricing on costs. Obviously, you don't want to lose money, okay? And it should be tangible. Your customers need to know what they're getting, what they're buying. Don't make it a mystery for them, okay? I know some people sell mystery boxes. I'm not talking about that. That's a gimmick, okay? Be very clear about what they're paying for. And you should compare how the prices are set up. In other words, you control the terms on how they're compared, not your competition. And if you want to change your prices, reframe the product or service. Don't just raise the price without reframing the product or service. This is a key issue, price differentiation. That's the key enabler of profit. If you can't come up with a product differentiator or a service differentiator, then you got a problem. I'll give you an example of service differentiator. Nordstrom's will take anything back. Right, Lauren? You've been in Nordstrom's? Yeah, she's shaking her head, yes. That's a service differentiator. And look at the smile on Lauren's face. It's like, yep, we love Nordstrom's, okay? For a law firm, a service differentiator might be the multitude of legal activities that they can take on, because some law firm might be able to take on patent law, as well as copyright, trademark, as well as tort, okay? That doesn't often happen in corporate. Determine what your differentiator is. A product differentiator might be a new type of, I have a dongle which connects to my laptop, which has 8 ports to it. I can plug anything into it. I couldn't find that anyplace else. That's a product differentiator. Actually, it's 4 ports, but it's wonderful. okay? So you need to be able to differentiate your product, which will help you determine how you can generate more profit for your product or service. And the way you communicate the pricing is important. If you communicate in a way that really doesn't get across your unique value proposition, that's a problem. And then sometimes you have to be prepared to lose some sales in order to increase profits. Always keep in mind the issues concerning elasticity and supply and demand. This picture, I think, was taken about a year or so ago before the price of gas went over $6. Now it's, I think, under $6. So obviously, demand and supply is always a huge issue. Keep in mind that you can create scarcity, artificial scarcity. That happens in the digital world with NFTs, and that's happening in the digital world with cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is an artificial scarce resource, deliberately created. As the resource is more and more rare, then you can raise prices so long as the demand is there for it. If it's an elastic demand, not so much. So here's an example of expensive wines. You know, the more expensive they get, demand drops. The point people may not be able to buy it. Let me continue down. So, price considerations. Branding. Higher prices are affiliated with luxury prices, right? And lower prices are affiliated with lower quality products. So there's a perception in people's mind that the higher the price, the higher the quality. Whether or not that's true is another question, but that perception is there. And you can go ahead and equate that perception in your own world, okay? What that means is you have to create a unique selling proposition. If you can't create a unique selling proposition, then it's a problem. And I believe I went through this presentation about 2 weeks ago, but it was so important. I believe I did, maybe not, but I believe it's so important that even if I did, you need to understand these concepts. That's why I'm reiterating it. So Louis Vuitton has a reputation for a reason. That's why it commands a high price. You have to be able to create a USP by segregating out your competition, by doing a SWOT analysis. And by the way, the other reason I'm raising this is because this is a question asked in the business plan template for the Dream Fund. There's 2 questions asked. One is, what is your unique selling proposition? And why is your brand or product or service better than the competition? You have to be able to answer those questions, whether you're applying for that grant or you're applying for a loan, or you just want to go out ahead of the marketplace, okay? So with regards to value creation, you have to enhance the quality of life for our final consumer, increase the profitability of a company if it's B2B. I'm not talking about B2G because that's a whole different world, business to government. This is what you do. Either you can be the lowest price layer, that's fine. No problem with that. And you should focus on cost innovation, or provide superior customer value, or do both. Okay. Let me continue on from here. So what we have is something called continuous value creation, where you need to understand what your customers value. You need to link value drivers to those value to operational drivers, for example, response times to phone calls, okay? Or you need to focus on the most important customer journeys and adopt continuous improvement, okay? If you do these things, then you'll be well on your way for establishing an appropriate price for your product or service, okay? Now, how to understand the thought process. So there's something called ideal clients or buyer personas. This is a very detailed biographical sketch, you have to determine who your customer is in a very particular way. And that means coming up with demographic, psychographic, firmographic information. And this is what Fortune 100 companies do. They'll develop 100 to 200 of these buyer personas that represent the majority of their market size. Usually for a small business, there'll be 2 or 3, maybe 2, okay? And in this case, we have a law enforcement officer. And this company was selling body armor. So this is a real issue for Mr. Adams, who is a fake name. It's a fake picture. He's 40 years old, 30 years old, in LA, married. And I could ask 100 questions of any one of you, and I'd come up with a biographical sketch suitable for a novel or a movie. This is what you need to do. And if it's B2B, it is the decision maker within the business that you want to develop for, because people consume information differently. They have different motivations, different frustrations, different pain points, different backgrounds. So a 65-year-old woman living on her own who is widowed is not the same as someone who's 25 years old. So oftentimes when I say, who's your ideal client, I get anywhere between 25 and 40. That is the absolute wrong answer. You take the time to develop these very detailed biographical sketches, and then that's going to help you market to them. And this has to do with pricing, because you can't price unless you know your customer. And then we move on to customer journey maps. So a customer journey maps is where you define the journey that your customer has with you from A to Z. And there's stages involved in these steps. There's an awareness stage. In that awareness stage, and all the other stages, there's an emotional component to it. And there's objectives like that law enforcement officer. How does he become aware of what's available to him? Talks to his colleagues, right? Trusts his colleagues. What's his emotional state? Well, he's worried because he needs safe armor to protect himself, right? And how can you make it easier for him in each one of these stages, right? So what's his consideration? It's not going to be price. If I'm a Leo, it's not about price. It's about, can that withstand, can that protect me? Can that save my life? It's not always about price, right? And then what's the engagement? How does he purchase it? Does he go to the store offering it? Or does he go to a show where there's always trade shows, right? And there's a retention. How do you retain that customer? And will that person advocate for me? There's a post-engagement stage. If you have not developed these customer journey maps, it's much more detailed to this, and they're linked to the buyer personas, then you should. And if you don't know how to create buyer personas and customer journey maps, come see us. That's what we're here for. We have people that specialize in areas. The whole point of these workshops is to help you with your business. We can give lots of information to these workshops, but without you working with you one-on-one, it just doesn't work as well. So come talk to us. That's what we're here for, and there's no cost to you. Okay? So there's something called the Brand Equity Pyramid. It was introduced by Dr. Keller from the Tech Business School of Dartmouth. So in order to create strong brands, companies must shape how customers think and feel about their products during all interaction with their brand. And here we see pre-purchase, purchase, and post-purchase, similar to what you just saw on the slide before. You need to create the right type of experiences with a brand so customers have specific positive thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Now, let me say this. In the metaverses like Fortnite, there are huge fashion brands that are forging these relationships now with the generations playing in and experiencing life in those metaverses. And it's not just 12-year-olds. There are 30, 35-year-olds playing, experiencing life in those digital worlds. And fashion brands and other brands, including financial services, are creating those relationships now, because if they grab those customers now, they're going to grab them from a lifetime. And you need to seriously consider experiencing and building a relationship through NFTs and the metaverses and cryptocurrency. And I gave that presentation about 2 weeks ago. You build your brand. How was it done before? It was done through advertising on TV and through magazines. Now it's done digitally. You still need advertising, print advertising. You still need broadcast media, don't get me wrong. But you build your relationships where you find your customers. And you're might find them at Fortnite. So think about that, or Decentraland. It's about brand equity. Brand equity leads to the ability to charge more for your product or service. Let me move on from there. So understanding buying pricing. So there's pricing strategies. There's penetration pricing, there's skimming pricing, competition pricing, premium pricing, optional pricing, cost plus pricing, cost-based pricing, product pricing, bundle pricing, and psychological pricing. A lot of strategies. I don't expect you to use all these strategies. You're going to pick one or two appropriate for you in your industry during your business life cycle. Okay? Oftentimes, when someone's coming new into the marketplace, it would be penetration pricing, like Spectrum's doing now, to grab you with regards to your cell phone service. They want to take market share from Verizon and T-Mobile, et cetera, right? So they're using penetration pricing. We'll give you free service for a month, et cetera, and we grab a lower price. Well, they're going to raise those prices once they're grabbing enough market share, okay? That's not the only pricing strategy. Lots of other pricing strategies you should consider. Let me go down. So a typical person that has a product, even a service, think about a lawyer who has to upcharge for an associate. They'll say, my cost is X, and I'm just going to mark it up by Y, and that's going to be the price. Well, looking at the marketplace, well, looking at the competition, without doing an analysis of what the marketplace is covering, or they said it 2 years ago, oh, COVID hit, by the way, and now we have huge demand for certain things, and we don't want to adjust our pricing. And there's inflationary pressures all over the place, but we're afraid to adjust our pricing. Wrong, absolutely wrong approach, okay? If you're paying more for your products, for your supplies, for your services, you should be passing that on to your customers. Restaurants are doing it left, right, and center, okay? Now, and they should be, because they have to maintain their margins. If you're not doing that because you're quote unquote afraid, then you're missing the boat. So long as your industry is also going in that direction, and most industries are. And it should never be based upon costs. It should be based upon what the value is to the customer. So here's a typical example of, various models. You have a wholesaler. It could be a manufacturer, somebody making that skirt, right? Somebody in the fashion district of Los Angeles. They might sell it direct to consumer. I have clients like this. They're selling direct to consumers, okay? And they're doing it B2C through Amazon or Etsy or one of the other online portals. And they're doing exactly what I'm telling you, what I show here, and I'm telling them not to. I'm saying, don't worry about the cost. Worry about what the market will bear. That's what you should be focusing your pricing, okay? But when you go to a retailer, oftentimes you have to change your pricing strategy because the retailer wants to have a markup, and oftentimes they use a distributor. So every time there's a middleman, there's a markup, and then there's another markup, and then there's another markup. And if you're in the e-commerce space and you're charging more than what the retailers are charging for your same product, that's a problem. Retailers don't like that, okay? Let me continue down from here. So Keystone Pricing is what I just talked about, all right? And what you see is other examples here of how Keystone pricing works. Now, psychological pricing is different. You see the screen here where it says $19.99 and $29.99. We've all seen this. We all fall prey to it. That's called psychological pricing, with the thought that if it has a 9 or a 5 or a 7 before a higher number, that we really think we're spending less. Well, we're not, but it's psychological. Marketeers are brilliant at psychological manipulation, and they get paid a lot of money to do that. And I think it's great. It's awesome. And you can do it too. If you're not, you should be thinking about it. Okay. This one I have to have a bit of an explanation about. There's quantity pricing. And when it comes to multiple quantity pricing, there's tiered pricing versus volume pricing. Let's take an example. We're selling 60 widgets, all right? So if I have a tiered pricing structure, the first 10 widgets that you purchase from me, I'm going to sell at $20. And then the second 10, I'm going to sell at $10. And then anything above 30, I'm going to sell at $5. So what I receive is a total of $550 because I'm selling first 10 at 20, that's $200. The second 20 at 10, that's $300. And the last 30 at 5, that's $150. So sum total of that is $550. The average price that I would get per widget is $9.17. Volume pricing is different. Volume pricing says, okay, depending upon where you fall in the bracket, that's what I'm going to charge. In this case, we have 60. You fall in the bracket from 30 to 100. So I'm going to receive $300. So my average price is $5. That's what I'm getting, $5. That's a big difference between $5 versus $9.17. If you're involved, whether it's a product or service, and you have lots of hours of lots of products that you can sell at once, you might consider tiered pricing over volume pricing. That's oftentimes a good way to go. There's a question in the chat room from Mr. Martinez. You mentioned house value in one of your examples. How does cap come into play and what to do? I don't understand your question, Mr. Martinez. I don't know what you're referring to. So perhaps you can rephrase your question. I apologize for that. Now, there's something called price skimming. This is, and we're seeing it now with used cars and new cars. When I prepared this early in the year, Corvettes were selling for $10,000 to $30,000 above sticker. Now it's $50,000 to $100,000 above sticker. This often comes into play when there's inelastic demand, and it works well for innovative and high-tech goods, as well as something like a Corvette, which is very high demand. Okay. If you're coming up with new products and no one else has it, yes, and you want to recoup the cost of your investments, I have those conversations quite a bit, you can engage in price skimming. So firms can increase profit and enable more research. Consumers who wait can benefit from lower prices, and high price can help recoup investment costs of new products. So those are the pros. But here's the cons. Consumers who pay the high price may feel ripped off later when you drop the price, right? A firm can lose market share if prices are too high. It's obvious. It does require a degree of monopoly power. Tesla, I would argue, has a degree of monopoly power. So they can command a high price for the vehicles. And when the first vehicles came out, I believe the sticker price was $110,000 to $120,000. And people were often paying more for that because it's such high demand. And I think it still is. They have a lower model version. Plus, keep in mind that that company had to recoup, and still is recouping, the millions and millions of dollars it spent to develop that vehicle. How am I doing so far, Lauren? We good?
Yeah, it's really making sense. Doing really good.
All right. So there's something called the price quality matrix. And here I have an example of computers. The Orion 8-pack gaming PC is the best gaming PC on the marketplace. Remember, there's professional gamers. I know him. It's my client. He's got 150,000 followers. He has a top-notch gaming PC, costs $30,000. And it's worth it for those who are professional gamers. On the low end of the price scale, but high quality, is this Acer computer. Costs $650. It's a wonderful computer, okay? And on the lower end of the price, we have the economy like a Chrome, but you might also end up paying a lot of money for a low quality PC that's just tricked out with some fancy casing, okay? And for you as business people, you want to determine where you fit within the price quality matrix, because you want to create high prices with high quality, whether it's a service or a product, okay? By the way, Lauren, did you get a Chrome for your child yet?
They all have Chromebooks, even the 2-year-old now.
Yeah, and how much did it cost you?
Oh, they were under $200.
See, now they're under 200.
Yeah,
But you know what you're getting. You weren't expecting much. It's a
exactly.
Chromebook, and it's fine, and you don't have a problem with that.
Mhm.
But if you spend $1,000 for it, you'd be like, wait, what am I doing? Right? All right, so now we have relative and discount pricing. So relative pricing. You price above or below the competition. So we have the same sneaker, right? And you'll find this online all the time. So 95, 90, 98. You either want to be at the top of the bottom, because when people sort, they sort by price. And if you're in the middle, you may not be found. Okay. Then there's discount pricing, flash sales, loyalty cards, that type of stuff. Right now, I don't think there's any particular sales going on that I can think of. Do you know of any seasonal sales going on, Lauren? No.
Back to school.
Back to school sales. There you go. Forgot about that. Back to school sales are going on. Take advantage of it. For your business, if you're involved in selling products to parents, take advantage of back to school sales. Attract them to you. Now, something called price anchoring, right? We all love to compare. So you use retail or service prices, and you're basically saying, well, here's my price in relation to the retail price. This happens all the time. There's a lot of stuff going on here. You have psychological pricing and a retail competitive price comparison. It's the same book being offered here. Notice what happened. You have the $49.99, that's psychological pricing, crossed off, right? That's relative pricing with $39.49. There's no way you and I, Lauren, know how much that book really sells for without actually doing some research, right? And so when we look at this, we're saying, hey, I'm going to get a break on this book. But now we have this JavaScript, the good parts, offered at $29.99, once again, crossed off in 1979. Lots of psychological stuff going on. Essentially, it's the same book, maybe different authors, but it's the same, right? So that's a strategic package comparison, because it's essentially the same book. And then we have the price comparisons. You can do the same thing, and you should consider it if it's appropriate for you. Now, there's alternative aggressive pricing strategy. I mentioned penetration pricing. Spectrum's doing it right now, okay? Think of a law firm that goes into a new geographic area, and they want to break in, and there's 1 or 2 law firms that basically have, or 3 or 4, that have the lock on the business market. So what are they going to do? They're going to go in and come and see us. We'll give you some free consulting, and our hourly rate is going to be lower than everybody else's. And by the way, we have the best lawyers in town, because all of your lawyers are too old and they haven't kept up with the latest. I mean, sometimes that happens. That's called penetration pricing. If you're entering a new marketplace, either geographically or an accessory to what you're currently doing, you might consider penetration pricing. It's a disruptively low level. Now we have add-on pricing. I think this is awesome. I think this is great for businesses. Here's an example of a brilliancy. We have hotels.com that has rated a hotel 8.2 through 400 guest reviews. Whether or not they're fake, I have no idea, okay? There's a secret price. Whoever put this together is brilliant because they're creating an urgency in our minds. We only have 3 left. Do you really know there's only 3 left? I want to hire this person who came up with this, okay? Now we have relative pricing, crossed out the 128, and we have psychological pricing for $89 per room. And then we have bundling, add-ons actually, not bundling. Because what we have here at the end of our stay, the hotel is charging a delivery service fee and a minibar restocking fee and an internet use. Have you seen these charges when you've checked out of a hotel, Lauren? I have.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. What I'm saying is the people who came up with these add-on pricing schemes, absolutely brilliant. No reason you shouldn't do it as well. Loss leaders. So think of a situation where you want to replace the electrical wiring in your house. There's a problem there, okay? So you contact a couple electricians and they come out and place a bid. And one of them comes in 25% lower, 20% lower than everybody else. And then you wonder why. And he or she is explaining why. Because quite honestly, I am going to do most of the work myself. I don't have a bunch of people. I don't need a bunch of, there's all sorts of reasons, right? Lower overhead. But what they might be doing as well is seeking to get other work from you. So they're in there, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're doing their work. And as they're doing their work, they're saying, by the way, I think you need cans. Do you have cans in your home? Lauren, you know the overhead cans?
The which ones?
The overhead cans. So you go in the ceiling.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Yeah, all right. So those are cans, right? By the way, you need low voltage lighting because your lighting out here or outdoors is not good, right? And what are they doing here? They're using the first bid as possibly a loss leader to get other work. Totally cool. And if it makes sense for you, you might consider doing the same thing, whether it's a product or a service. So for example, sale of obsolete inventory and then upsell to other products. Now something called price bundling, the 4 for 4 school, right? So we're bundling everything together and say you get 4 of these items for $4. So here's an example. We have a single product that sells for $5. The MSRP is $10, right? So if I sell that product, my gross profit on that is $5. But let's say I'm bundling everything together. Now you're getting 3 things. Let's say it's an app, okay? My cost is $11. My MSRP is $26. Now I'm getting $15 gross profit because I bundled everything together. And by the way, this is why restaurants do this, because they know everybody's going to want to fry. Everyone's going to want to drink, right? All right, that's what you do. You do it too,
Right.
if it makes sense for you, right? Now, I spent decades in government contracting. I started out as a cost accountant working for various aerospace and defense companies. And I rose through the ranks to control and CFO. And I have been negotiating with government agencies and military people for decades over government contracts. This is a different world. Whether it's city, state, county, federal, you have cost plus fee contracts, you have firm fixed price contracts, and your time and materials. All those pricing strategies that I mentioned go out the window when you're dealing with government contracting, because the government agencies have the right to audit to see whether or not your bid was appropriate. I've been through the audits. I have been through DC Defense Contract Audit Agency audits, and I'm very familiar with FAR, Federal Acquisition Regulations, Section 52. The point being is if you're going to get involved in government contracting, forget about everything else I just mentioned. Because remember, they have the right to audit your books And I have known of situations where people had to pay heavy fines. I wasn't actually involved in the company, or they went to prison, federal prison for fraud because they tried to get away with something. So when it comes to government contracting pricing, just keep in mind, you need to keep your books clean and keep them open and transparent so you don't get into any trouble. Time and materials means you're charging an hourly price for labor, and then you're earning a price for materials, okay? Firm fixed price is just saying, you know what? That case for your phone, it's this price. That's it. By the way, you have to offer it at the same competitive price that you're offered to the marketplace when it comes to government contracting, okay? And they audit for this stuff. Cost plus fixed fee, that's when they say, show us and prove to us that the cost for the product you're selling to us or the service is what you're saying is, and we'll give you a fair fee. We'll give you a fair fixed fee for it. Plus, when you come talking about government contracts, there's something called retention. They will hold 10% of the payment to you to the end, and then you come and audit your books to be sure that you have met the requirements to, that you have complied with all these rules under FAR 52. And that concludes it. I know that was fast, but that concludes the presentation for today. So I don't see any questions. I will ask if there are any, and if they're not, I wish everybody a good day. Let's see.
We've got one.
What type of contract benefits contract is the most? It depends, okay? So there's a question about getting the slides. Do you want to address that, Lauren?
Sure, just shoot me an email. I'll put my email into the chat, and then we can share the presentation with you. And then just keep in mind that this will be available online via our YouTube channel next week.
Right, it's for that person who asked about what is the appropriate type of contract for you. I can't give you an answer without knowing your situation, right? I'd have to analyze your books. I'd have to analyze your product. I have to know your services. I need to know your cost structure. I need to know who you're dealing with. Certain governmental agencies prefer T&M over cost CPFF. So it just depends. As GB says, it depends. That's why we want to see you. We want you to have one-on-one sessions, whether you're a government contractor or not. I and many other people in our ecosystem can help you make decisions regarding your pricing. I will say this, if you have not considered raising your prices, then you need to do so. And if you have a quandary about that, come and see us. We can help you make that decision. Okay, did something else come in? Why do we have to pay a tax on import? I don't know, Lauren, they can be referred to someone who deals with import. Okay, I can give you an answer because the United States government wants to maintain jobs in the United States. They don't want you going out of the country to buy product and services. So that's why there's a tax. Remember, other countries don't have the same rules in place. Thus, there might be situations where people are exploited in other countries. So therefore, the United States imposes tariffs on imports. The problem is we can get into tariff war because if we do that too much, then other countries will impose tariffs on our products being exported, and now you're into a tariff. But the reality is the United States government wants to keep jobs within the United States. That's the answer. More questions?
Do you see part 2 of that question? They're saying, I understand, but do we have the supply?
Supply of what? I can't answer that question. I don't know. That's why you have to come and see someone.
Goods.
Lauren, someone's asking about having a business out of state. You want to address that one? Some of the other questions, come see and speak to someone. But someone's asking about their businesses out of state, so you might want to address that one.
Okay.
All right. So with that, I'm going to say, have a good day. Thank you so much for your time today, and I appreciate the nice comment, Lily, and those who are enjoying these presentations, and this is why we do it. Okay, thank you. Hope everyone has a great day.
Thanks, Mike. Take care.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. All right, everyone, thank you for joining us today. Please be sure to come back next week, Thursday at 1 p.m. For any questions that weren't answered. I saw that someone was joining us or has a business outside of California. Please be sure to go to the national website so that you can get connected with a local SBDC office. And with that, keep it on your radar. We'll be sharing a link to our YouTube playlist so that you all can review these sessions over and over again. So with that, have a wonderful Thursday, an even better Friday, and a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.